Hey everyone, welcome to this solar eclipse Sidereal astrology forecast. This is for the eclipse on Tuesday, July 2nd, 2019. All right, so we have a solar eclipse in practical Gemini. If you were expecting me to say Cancer just then, be sure to check out the link down below for more information on true sidereal astrology. But yeah, in the actual sky, we will have this solar eclipse in this very mental and communicative and what could be flexible type of energy with Gemini. So it's essentially a time of new beginnings, really good to sit with the energy, see what new is shifting along our life journey, because eclipses are like new moons in that it is a time of new beginnings, but particularly with the North Node in this case, a new path, maybe a new life path direction based on whatever might be shifting and changing. So we'll see what this is, and with the solar eclipse, we do have an opposition up to Saturn, so really good to balance this with any responsibilities, which might be going through some transformations at the moment. We have a square up to Chiron, so really good to challenge ourselves with healing, especially if it has to do with letting things go, to find more peace in life and the healing that arises from that. And a slight sextile up to Uranus, so maybe an opening for some change with this solar eclipse, disrupting things, bringing in a little bit of excitement and change into the mix. All right, so let's take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. All right, so here is the chart for the solar eclipse. It will be on Tuesday, July 2nd at 16:12 Eastern Time of the Americas, if you do want to make that calculation for wherever you are in the world. And we are using the actual size of the constellations as seen in the visible sky. So for example, if you were to look at the eclipse, hopefully wearing some glasses of some sort, you will see the eclipse behind the constellation or in front of the constellation Gemini. So, mainstream might say it's Cancer. So if you are new to this channel and you are new to using the actual size of the constellations, be sure to check out the link down below for more information on true sidereal astrology. All right, so solar eclipse in practical Gemini. Really good time to sit with the energies around Tuesday. These are usually very spiritual times. And just very, symbolically and metaphorically, like when the sun is being eclipsed, this is really that side of ourself that is naturally very conscious and aware, now going through this dimming process, right? It's supposed to be a time of internalization. It's a spiritual time of listening and seeing what arises from that. And then from that sort of inner knowing, or that space, or that intuition, however you describe that, the new beginnings emerge, right? And it does take time, of course, because all lunar cycles are a monthly cycle, but they're also a yearly cycle, especially when involving the eclipses. So what new is emerging might be over the next 6 months to 12 months based on whatever new is shaping up for you. So Gemini, the twins, this constellation in particular is all about using the synergistic elements of our life and of ourself. So in the context of self, the sort of polarity here is between thinking, right? Particularly practical thinking. So Gemini rules things like binary processing of information. Should I go this way? Should I do that? Right? Things that are very practical in nature, using our minds to see what can be useful, verifiable, and rational, very practical in nature. And just getting into that sort of very realistic, grounded in the world type of thinking and processing information in that way. When dealing with others, Gemini very much has to deal with communication. So there could be some new beginnings about developing this side of yourself, the side of us that is willing to share and exchange and learn from others in equal status. Again, the twins, right, of equal status. And maybe expressing ourselves, maybe expressing some of our viewpoints, seeing both sides of the coin, so to speak. And then, of course, anything involving correspondence or paperwork if it is external like that for you. And just generally in the external environment, Gemini, this side of ourself, is all about flexibility. Because if you think about it, when we really are in this very thought process kind of realm and communicative realm where we're gaining new information, we do want to be as flexible as possible. right? Because when the information changes, maybe our perspective changes, our thoughts, whatever it is, we want to be adaptive. We want to be able to go in the direction of where that, where the information is, so to speak. So this is essentially what the new moon will be, is developing this side of ourself. And what I always feel like is a really good way of working with Gemini is that curious side of ourself. To treat life as an area of learning, of even playfulness. Again, twins energy, being light on our toes, right? Seeing things in a lighter kind of perspective. Seeing every experience in life as a learning process, right? As long as we're always willing to learn. Even in the times where we might feel like it's a failure or not a success, there is, in every failure, there's something we learn, and therefore it is a success, right? So it is that lighter mental energy of saying, how can we continuously learn? And in every experience, see that positive learning process in it. So down below in the comment section, I will put which house this is for each of the different signs if you want to see which particular area of life this is happening for you. For some of you, it'll be dealing with, say, relationships, others career, maybe home, whatever it might be. So do check that down below after the video for more information on where this new beginning and shift to your life path might be taking place. All right, so let's take a look at this here in more detail. So looking at some of the aspects with this solar eclipse, we do have an opposition up to Saturn. Saturn is very close to the south node. And so this represents the fact that this part of the year has been a lot of restructuring taking place. Saturn represents our foundations in life, the things that maybe our responsibilities, things that we discipline ourselves towards, these responsibilities. And the south node is all about releasing, and particularly in the context of like maybe past life energy or karmic energy, just allowing things to be released. So in this case, our structures are transforming, they're changing. And so with this solar eclipse, it is good to balance this new beginning and this flexibility and learning and communication and all this we're developing with this balance of responsibility, right? Being open to still having the long-term perspective, being open to still maintaining some, structures in terms of our responsibilities in the bigger picture, long-term, view of things. And just getting into that balanced state with it. Because if we go too far into the Saturn side, if it's too heavy, if it's too dense, too much on the responsibilities, then we don't maintain that air energy of flexibility, right? And learning and curiosity and change. While on the other side, if we go too far into just the flexibility and learning, we might overemphasize that and neglect some responsibilities and some long-term sort of perspectives on things. So it is really good to find that balance in your life regarding the air energy of Gemini and the earth energy of Saturn, dealing with the structures, responsibilities, foundations, things of that nature. All right, and a lot of that could have to do with maybe things about the future or our inspirations or potentials, right, which is that Sagittarius Saturn transit at the moment. So along with this, we do have a square up to Chiron with the solar eclipse. It would be a T-square if it was a little bit closer, but still nonetheless with this, it's an excellent time for healing. Chiron, the wounded healer, is the side of ourself that may have some wounds that we can become aware of, accept, and face, and maybe even take some action or do some things, maybe spiritual things, maybe receptive things, in the face of those wounds so that we can heal and transform. And especially with Chiron and Pisces, this could have to do with the side of ourself that is or isn't willing to surrender, have faith and trust, live presently. So that's essentially that side of ourself that we're healing, that Piscean side. And so anything we can do to, in this case, challenge ourselves to heal with this solar eclipse, whether it's physical healing, spiritual, mental, emotional, whatever it might be, setting the intention to heal can be super constructive. This is the only square with the solar eclipse, and squares are all about this constructive energy in terms of how we can work with it. All right, and then on the most minor front with the aspects, we do have a sextile up to Uranus. Sextiles are a bit of just an opening, and in this case, it's a bit of an opening for maybe some change, getting outside our comfort zone, spontaneity, listening to our excitement, and just really disrupting our own perspective and our own status quo, and maybe even the status quo in general, right? Doing things that are unorthodox or very progressive could be a really good way of working with this sextile to Uranus as well, but a little bit more minor compared to the other things. And I do want to mention that the ruler of Gemini is in very watery Cancer at the moment, next to Mars. So when it does come to some of this maybe communicative stuff, there might be a bit of directness or assertiveness themes involved with it. So good to get into that Mars side of ourselves with this solar eclipse as well. And with all of this in Cancer, it's almost like this new beginning is arising, this practical stuff, from maybe reflecting on the past or dealing with energy from the past or matters around emotional security and listening to our feelings or creating a protective environment for ourselves and others, maybe through that caring and nurturing kind of stuff. And Cancer really is about listening to our feelings, listening to our soul, listening to our roots. And that could be a very important key to whatever these new shifts are to the solar eclipse. All right, everyone. So that's the solar eclipse in a nutshell. Here are the aspects. No other major aspects going on here at the same time as the solar eclipse. We do have Venus slowly shifting into Gemini, however. So when it does come to our relationships and what we're enjoying over about the next few weeks, we will get into a bit more of that practical energy dealing with the connections in life. But other than that, no major aspects going on here this part of the week. But very important time, solar eclipse, new shift to the life path. Great time of listening. Do give it some time as we go through the week to build some of this momentum. And around this part of the week, asking ourselves, what are some new things we can develop in terms of practical thinking, in terms of communication, and bringing in a bit of that flexibility into our life. All right, so everyone, have a fantastic solar eclipse. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time for the next daily video. Take care.